Hey YouTube,
Welcome to our channel, No Strings Attached, Living Off Grid.
this is our first video documenting our build from the ground up.
Later on, we'll show videos about our solar, composting toilet, building the rest of the house.
So here we have all of our materials have been delivered. We got our sheathing, insulation, 6x6 posts, our beams, our 2x6s, and 2x4s ready to go. Here's a little trek up to the house, well, the build site anyway, not the house yet. Through the woods, nice and green right now. These here are shingles. We got half of them off of Gigi and bought half of them brand new, so saved a little bit of money there. And off to the build site. We got two shelters for my tools right now. As you can see, a few things are up right now, but we'll get into that a little bit later. First thing we had to do was measure out where we were going to dig our holes for our posts. So we had to measure out from corner to corner, side to side, try to get everything square. And our dog there, Drako, was in the way a lot, but he was helping. And as you can see, it was measuring over and over and over multiple times to ensure that we got as square as possible. And digging our first hole, basically breaking ground, we had to remove all the overburden, but that wasn't too hard. We only had to dig down about 2 feet at the deepest spot, maybe 3, until we hit solid granite, which our house is built on a granite rock outcropping, so that it won't move and the concrete would adhere directly to the granite, making it very, very stable. And just the first wheelbarrow load of dirt going off to the side. Many, many more to come. Our post holders we're using are for 6x6 posts. They have an adjustable nut and thread on them. They have up to a 6-inch travel so that you can adjust up and down if your piers weren't level, which some of mine weren't, so they came in very handy. And they could support up to 3,000 pounds each. And our dog being an inspector there, checking out all the beams and the piers. I just poured all the piers, so the concrete is just starting to cure now, leaving it for a few days, keeping it moist. And in total there, we have 15 piers. So around, I don't know, 3,000 pounds of concrete that I poured, all by hand. And here we have our subfloor ridge beam installed. It's attached in the center with joist hangers. And on top of that, we have 3-inch nails toe-nailed into the center beam there to hold it together. And inside is laminated together with carpenter's glue and more 3-inch nails. Very sturdy. Our subfloor frame is 6x6 beams that have been mortised and tenoned together and are held together with 16 gauge tie plates. And those are held on to each other with 3-inch nails as well. Very sturdy on the corners there. And on the center, we use just two 16 gauge tie plates to tie them together on each side again to hold all the frames together. Now our floor joists have all been installed all the way along, as you can see there. Lots of cutting and measuring since I didn't get the floor completely square. Here I have installed Tyvek underneath the subfloor. Had to crawl underneath the subfloor with a staple gun and attach it to the subfloor there. Not very fun for a big guy like me. Here you see trimmings off our insulation. Got most of the floor done. Just installing the insulation now and the bridging in between the floor joists to make it stronger. Most of the insulation has been installed now. And we are starting to put the subfloor flooring on, as well as the vapor barrier, attaching that down with staples as well. Just a clip of us cutting some 2x6s, lots of that.
Our foreman caught sleeping on the job Again, underneath the house is where you'd find him most of the days.
Our subfloor has been completed now, and most of the walls are up. I missed filming some of the wall installation, but you get the gist of it. Our 6x6 exposed beams have been installed, 2 of the 3 of them so far anyway, and our window openings have been framed up and roughed out slightly. Here you see me putting on lots of carpenter's glue for our ceiling ridge beam. Make sure it forms a good bond when we laminate the 3 of them together. Clamping together the ridge beam, and then we would take 3-inch nails and nail it together. The ridge beam would have been too big for us to lift up all on its own once it was completed, so we had to lift up in parts and finish gluing and nailing it together while it was on top of our exposed beams in the house. Now, after gluing and nailing the ridge beam together, we installed it on top of our piers on the exposed beams, and it is completed. Now we just let it cure for a few days so that the glue is nice and hard. After we installed the ridge beam, we started installing the roof rafters, attaching them to the top plates at the south side of the house with hurricane ties. And the north side, we completed the rafters and attached those to the top plate with more hurricane ties. Here's just an outside pan of the house after we completed the roof rafter installation. The overhang at the back is about 1.5 feet, so that we can get some eaves trough on there to collect rainwater in the summer. And the south side has about a 3-foot overhang so that we get some shade in the summer so the sun doesn't come beating in the windows. After completing the rafters, we start putting up the first line of sheathing for the roof. We were using 4x8 sheets of OSB plywood. Now about 3/4 of the roof sheathing has been completed. It's starting to look a little bit like a house on the inside, except without all the insulation and paneling and flooring. Yeah, we have a lot to go. After we installed all the roof sheathing, we had to trim off the edges using a circ saw. After all the roof sheathing has been nailed and screwed down, we installed ice guard and roof guard to protect the roof from moisture that would get underneath the shingles. And just like that, all the shingling has been completed. Well, after 3 very hot days of shingling, it was done anyway. Not very fun. Now I know why people get professionals to do it. Now the front of the house, all the windows have been cut out of the siding. And we are starting to wrap the house with Tyvek house wrap to protect it from all the moisture, wind, and elements over the winter, since we're not going to be able to get the siding on before the winter comes. And once again, Drako doing the best impression he can of a work foreman. After we got all the house wrap on, we nailed it or screwed it all down with battens to hold it down over the winter so it wouldn't blow off and rip off. And then once again, we had to cut out the openings for all the windows. As you can see there, we have 2 little windows in so far, and we're about to install the bigger windows. And here's a current view of the outside after we got the door installed and all of the windows installed and our solar panels attached to the outside. Right now it's winter and this was just taken today, so it's not very nice and warm out like the previous parts of the video, but now we're back to summer again, just like that. You see I'm installing all the pink insulation on the inside, and we have just completed all the electrical work ourselves as well. Oh, and look who's sleeping on the job again, Drako. That is our wood stove that we just got delivered. It'll be a nice one for the winter. And all the materials that we have moved inside now out of the elements. And we have started doing some knotty pine paneling, at least in the bedroom for now, because we're going to be bringing all of our living stuff up here now, since we're moving out of our apartment in just a few days after this video was taken.
Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe for more videos. You can find us on Instagram at No Strings Attached, Living Off Grid, and we'll see you next time.